Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be reacting to another anime video. This one's by Rebecca Parham called Daycare Stories. Now, I personally don't remember if I was in daycare or not. If anyone out there is watching this and remembers being in daycare, share your daycare stories in the comments below. I'll include a link to Rebecca's original video in the comments. Please like, comment, subscribe, and without further ado, let's get watching.
Oh, hello, my geeks and peeps, my explainers and entertainers, my little oodalollies. Rebecca
I
Parham
love the
here.
oodalollies.
So, did you know I was a daycare kid?
No, Rebecca, I had absolutely no idea you were a daycare kid. The title and thumbnail for this video did not give it away at all. I was completely and utterly clueless.
Probably not, because I've never mentioned it before. Makes sense, given that mom and dad were both working parents, and leaving one's infant at home alone is generally considered
Illegal?
problematic. Now, I know it might be hard to believe,
What?
but I haven't always been the pinnacle of refinement and maturity that you see before you today. No, no. As a kid, I was a bit of a rascal. For example, the
Is it just me, or are the words child and rascal practically synonymous? I mean, can you really call yourself a child if you've never gotten into trouble every now and again? I mean, that's pretty much how kids learn, right? They get into trouble. So, a little bit redundant, Rebecca, but I see your point. Moving on.
story. Now, at this daycare, we had a big playroom, and in this playroom, there was a dark little alcove where custodial stuff and equipment was kept all the time. And one morning during playtime, I
Burying a
noticed
kid with
someone had
bricks?
left a large box there, big enough for a child to hide behind. Now, there's a concept that I call kid logic, and it's
Alright.
basically just a name for that randomness that kids possess or the absurdity that is their reasoning sometimes. For
Checks out.
example, when I saw that box, that's when my kid logic kicked in, and I said, I'm gonna hide behind that box for as long as possible and see what happens. This is a great idea. So when the
No, it's
adults weren't
not.
looking, I slunk behind the box and crouched down, hiding myself entirely. I must have stayed there for half an hour before playtime ended, and they ushered
Really?
all the kids away to a different room for a new activity.
Okay, here's my question. How oblivious do the caretakers have to be at this place to not notice that a child is hiding for a half hour? Don't you think they would have noticed within like 5 minutes or so?
And funny enough, the adults were none the wiser I was gone. I've beat the system. Now, this is what gets me. It took an hour of me hiding before an
An
adult came
hour?
back to the room and visibly began looking around for something.
Okay, how do you manage to pull that off for an hour? I know back when I was a kid, there's no way I could have done this. My ADHD was so hyper back then that I would have not been able to hide behind a box for like 5 minutes, let alone an hour. So I guess props to you, Becca, for having that type of patience, but still, wow.
Couldn't imagine what it might be. Now, where did I leave that small child? Must be around here someplace. I peeked my head up over the
Oh
edge of the
no.
box to watch, but that proved to be my undoing. I was spotted! I've been
Becca, you
compromised! I got in big
prepubescent
trouble for that, of
goofball.
course. I was clearly not good at getting away with things when I was a kid, as you'll see in the next story. Now, one time at this daycare, they brought in a whiteboard, and you were only allowed to draw on it with adult supervision. Okay, I won't draw on the board.
What you gonna
Instead,
do?
I stole a green dry erase marker when no one was looking and proceeded to
What?
decorate my face.
Why would you
Hey,
do
listen, I
that?
didn't break the rules. They
I mean, why on earth would you do that? I mean, that's the whole point of skin is to keep things away from you. Why would you purposely put like just ink all in it? I mean, I guess people do that for tattoos, but still, why would you just do that? Scribble all over your face in a marker. That just makes no sense to me at all. But then again, you were a kid, so I'll give you a little bit of leniency, but still, Becca, come on.
specifically said don't draw on the board. They said nothing about my face. I put the marker
Semantics.
back and walked away, but was promptly spotted by an adult.
Good.
Becca, did you do this to yourself? No.
Liar.
Did somebody do this to you? Yes.
Oh boy.
Who did it? Well, sheesh, I hadn't thought I had that far.
Seriously?
And I honestly didn't even think to blame another kid. Instead, that good old kid logic kicked in, and I came up with the most foolproof story that was sure to get my hide out of trouble.
Let's hear it.
I was minding my own business looking for something to play with And then the markers came over and marked on my face.
Really?
Nailed it. I will never understand how that daycare worker kept a straight face.
Neither
But
will
off to
I.
timeout I went. So, what are you in for? Disrupting the status quo? Whoa, I stuck gum up my nose.
Gross, my
Something I
guy.
haven't mentioned yet is that my sister Rachel also went to this daycare. And because she's 2 years older than me, she got to be in the big kids program called the Superstars. And I was so jealous that I took to calling them the Stupid Stars.
Real
Extra
comedic
crispy on that
genius,
burn there, little
Becca.
Becca. But one thing that will always be a significant memory to me is the day I discovered that the Superstars had a Nintendo.
Ooh, the original
Better
Nintendo.
yet, they had Super Mario Brothers. And
Oh,
that,
I
my
can
little
relate.
hootalollies,
I
was
can
the
relate.
first time I...
Don't want to interrupt again, but I can so relate to this. I had this growing up. Yes, I'm showing my age by referencing this, but I don't care. It was a great system back in the day. Duck Hunt, Super Mario Brothers, Link, those were classics of my childhood. So, yeah, 90s kids representing. Good job, Becca.
ever saw a console video game. I thought I was looking at magic.
It
And that
practically
became
was
the
magic.
only thing I ever wanted to do at playtime was go over to the big kid area and watch them play Super Mario Brothers. Don't you dare tell me that gamers aren't real entertainers. I was watching people play video games long before the Appliers and Septiceyes and Deepies of the world made it a thing. But when playtime was over, the daycare staff had to pry me away, kicking and screaming from that TV set. One day, however, I came up with a brilliant idea. When they pulled me
Really?
away from the big kids' corner and sat me down with the other little kids, I proceeded to scream and cry that I miss my big sister, and nothing was gonna console me except being allowed to be with her in the big kid area.
Classic
I
kid
guess the
move.
adults didn't know what else
Throwing
to
a
do, so
tantrum.
they actually let me go back over. Holy Crayola, that actually worked. Sure enough,
Holy
I made a
quail.
beeline for
Never
the
heard that one
Nintendo.
before.
Screw you, sis. I got video games to absorb.
Yeah, forget
It
you,
didn't take
Rachel.
long for an adult to catch on, and I was eventually pulled away again. When I tried the same shtick, they gently said, Becca, you say you miss your sister, but every time you go over there, you just watch them play video games. Okay, maybe they had me there. Not gonna lie,
Yeah, they
that's a pretty
did.
solid accusation. All right, grown up, I'll concede to you this time. But one day I'll be grown up, and I'll watch all the video games I want. Don't you mean play them? No. Now I've saved the best story for last. Even when
Really?
I started kindergarten, there was no escaping this daycare. Because one of the services they provided was picking up children from my elementary school and taking them back to the daycare where the parents could pick them up later.
That's
So
good.
every day, I didn't get picked up by a parent or get on a normal yellow school bus. I waited for a big white van.
What?
That sounds rather nefarious now that I say it out loud. But yeah.
Yes, it does. That's like the exact opposite of where any kid should be. No child should be in a white van on the street. Unless like your parents happen to have a white van. That's like stranger danger 101. Seriously, kids watching this, don't get into strange white vans, alright? It's not safe. This is your public service announcement from Neuro-Nick. Moving on.
Rachel and I would wait for the van, pile in with the other kids, and go wait to get picked up at the daycare. And this was a routine my kindergarten teacher knew. She was a very good teacher and kept track of the way each of her students were supposed to go home.
Good on
So
her.
she would make sure I got in that van. Well, I was getting a little bored of the routine. And here's good old kid logic again, because
Oh, boy.
many of my classmates would get to walk home. And for some reason, I decided that was the cool thing to do. I
No, it's
aspired
not.
to walk home. But that wasn't gonna happen with Miss Responsibility Pants botching my whole operation.
Good.
So like the little devil I was, I waited until we had a substitute teacher.
Oh, here we
Alright,
go.
here's your evil genius learner's permit, kiddo. When school ended that day, instead of getting into the daycare van, I hid behind a brick pillar and waited for the van to leave without me. Funny how my sister never said anything. She must have been like, alright, I guess she died. As soon as the van
She
left, I headed
died.
off on foot.
Hold on. It do be like that, though. Like, if you have a younger sibling and you're the older sibling, sometimes you're just like, man, screw it. I mean, you love your siblings, but sometimes you just can't stand them. Yeah, I can relate to that.
The house was within walking distance, only about a mile away. But I began to think as I walked that no one was actually going to be at the house, and I had no way of getting inside.
Uh-oh.
Probably should have thought of that before.
Yeah,
So
you should
instead of
have.
walking home, I made the executive decision to walk to the daycare instead. Now, I knew what I was doing was against the rules, because every single time I saw a white vehicle of any sort coming in the distance, I would duck behind a tree or bush as fast as I could. When I was so close that I could see the daycare up ahead, I noticed what was most definitely a white van approaching, and the only tree immediately available was thinner than me. So not only was this tree already insufficient at hiding me, but when I jumped behind it, I didn't think to put the tree between
Seriously?
me and the line of sight of the van. So when the daycare staff approached, this is what they saw.
That's terrible.
I'm revoking that evil genius learner's permit. They
Good.
stopped the van, made me get inside, and guess who I found in
Your
the
sister?
back seat? The
Yep.
snitch that ratted me out. My own sister.
What a terrible sibling. How dare she tell the daycare staff that you didn't get on the van? And how dare she be concerned for your safety? That is definitely a horrible sibling right there.
How could you? We were brothers, you and I.
What?
Wait. And that is just a handful of examples of what a little monster I was. I talked to my sister about this script, and she came up with even more stories about this daycare, so if you guys like this video, then maybe there'll be another one in the future. Who knows? Alright, have fun out there, oodle-ollies, and avoid white vans. Thank you.
Yeah, solid advice there, Rebecca. That was an excellent and very funny video. If you guys want me to react to part 2 of this video, let me know in the comments below. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!